Well, I see a lot of people that were in my session this morning, and I've been told that the difference between this morning session and this session is that I'm not allowed to run around as much. So I'm going to stand kind of in this spot. That's all a good thing, right? But to hold me down is kind of, I'm Canadian, I'm not French Canadian, but if I was French Canadian, I'd talk more with my hands, but I won't. This time I won't talk with my feet. I will stand still. I'm going to keep reminding myself of that. Are you busy people? Seriously? Like I look at my own life and I think, do I really have any more time for anything? And really what it comes down to is we do lots of stuff. And anyone that was in my session this morning knows that when we do stuff, we want to make sure that there are benefits. We talked about benefits, but what happens sometimes the we do stuff actually grows to a point where we are more concentrated on the stuff that we're doing than we are on the benefits that we're getting from it. And I think that that's what really comes down oftentimes is that we end up, social media comes out and we all think we need to be doing social media. Well, you don't need to be doing social media, but somebody needs to be doing social media because there are lots and lots of benefits if you are doing social media. Well, if you don't have benefits, if you're doing something, I used to have a friend who used to, it's like, it hurts when I do this, and we all say, well, stop doing that. Well, maybe there are some things that you're doing that you need to stop doing. In fact, when we're doing stuff, if we're doing stuff and not getting any benefits from it, then obviously we need to implement change. And part of that change that we need to do is stuff that's been going on all along. Nothing is staying the same anymore. It used to be you could learn something and then enjoy it. But every time we learn something, something changes, right? And it's interesting. I love when Kathy presents, and she talked about this book that's the Millennium Matrix that Rex Miller. I actually got to meet Rex. I had lunch with him yesterday, and he came up with this whole idea of the 4 time periods. And what I found interesting about it, like if the timeline, if you think of Genesis, like way back in the beginning on the left-hand side, and then looking to the future on the right-hand side, we all do things for certain benefits. So there's a couple of things. You want to increase your audience, right? And you want to save time. So somehow we need to be able to tie these things together. Now, if you go back to the oral time, you end up with a very intimate audience, very small audience, and then your speed. I mean, this is the slowest method, because remember, it's the one-on-one. It's when you actually sit with somebody and you tell them a story. Now, can you imagine the first marketing director back then? It's like, man, I got this product that you need to hear about, and then you tell one person. Well, you know what? Jesus was like that. Jesus chose the people that he needed to talk to, and then those people told someone, and so on, and so on, and that's the way that the church spread. Well, it's the slowest way. Now, it requires, though, that the people listen. Because you can imagine, if the disciples had Twitter and they were tweeting at the time that Jesus told them something really important, it's like, huh? What was that again? I mean, it requires listening. Then when we move forward into the print industry, I mean that's what I was trained in. I'm a creative director, and I came through the design route, and I really, really love print. Now, there's a whole section that I would love to tell you about print, because whatever you're doing in print, start questioning if there's a better way to do it. That whole benefits thing versus how much it's costing. There are ways to do a lot of the things that you're doing in print now that will save time and save money for your church. But that's a whole other story. And just so that you know all of that, if you didn't get a chance to scan the QR codes, there's a sign-up sheet down here, or you can go to pinpointcreative.com/sign in, and you can register for this, and I'll send you ebooks, and I'll also send you all these notes. But you can also sign up down here in one of my business cards. But print, so think about it. It was intimate, then it became a little bit broader, because you could put something in print and you could hand it out, so that other people had something in their hands that they could actually be able to read and pass along. The speed, it was still pretty slow. Think about it. When you go to print something, the amount of time that it goes into the whole print industry stuff, I mean, it just takes a lot of time. And it requires people to read. Then, all of a sudden, broadcast happened. And, I mean, intimate, broader, and then broader, if I can use that word. The speed, it started getting faster. All of a sudden, you could get a lot of information out, whether it's through radio or television or however you're doing the broadcast. And the requirement was that people needed to observe. Because if people didn't observe, there was no sense broadcasting, right? Well, the digital age came along, and all of a sudden, I kept hearing the words, it's limitless. It's incredible. It's like everything you could possibly think. Speed, well, we would say it's the fastest way, right? It's absolutely the fastest way. And then the requirement is, I believe that it's the experience of it all. It needs to be experienced. So if we were to take those and we move it all down here so that the digital age, I'm going to add on to the book. And I believe that right now we're going through the change where we actually move forward and we end up with the social age. And I think that the social media age, interestingly enough, it's also fairly limitless, and it's also fastest because it's an extension of the digital age, and it requires interactivity. That's the big buzzword, engagement and interactivity. So by doing all of that, I believe that we can add on that it's limitless-er, or limitless-est, or anyway, more limitless than limitless is, if there's such a thing. It's like being unique and uniquer. It's, well, social media should, if you look at your audience, it should add to your audience, and it should add to your speed. If it's not doing that, then you need to start looking at what you're doing and deciding whether or not it's worth doing it. And I think that the biggest thing that I see is that people keep coming to me and they keep saying, I don't know, you guys do social media so well, but we're just not into it. Well, you know what? I release you from social media. You do not have to be doing social media. But somebody in your organization will love to do social media. Don't think you have to do this all yourself. Just because somebody was really good at print doesn't mean that they're really good at web. And if they're really good at web doesn't mean that they're going to be really good with social. Social is a class unto its own. And sometimes when we think, okay, well, what will be the next thing? Like, what's going to go in here? Like, after social media. I mean, it was, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 years ago that people started saying, well, talk to us about social media. How does social media fit into the marketing mix? And all of a sudden, social media just blew up. Everybody wanted to talk about social media. Everybody wanted to know about all the tools and everything. So what is it that is going to come after social media that everyone's going to want to hear? And I mean, there's a lot of people here and they're all wanting to know about social media. Anyone want to hazard a guess? I don't know either. I know. However, I saw this. It's from Bill Maher. Can we go back to using Facebook for what it was originally for, looking up exes to see how fat they got? I mean, that's really what social media is all about, right? We've all seen the movie about how Facebook came about. It's interesting because everything is changing, and if you think, I can't keep up, don't keep up. Just do what you can do with the time that you have so that you reap benefits from it. But somebody else needs to do it. When we do stuff, we have to keep in mind that we need to know whether we're benefiting it from time. And when we benefit from time, then we end up with tools. Now, I don't know whether you know it or not, but I am a lumberjack. This past week, I decided that I was going to cut down my own trees on my property. Anybody that's on my Facebook page knows that there's a video of a tree almost hitting our house. I've read everything I could possibly read. I became a YouTube expert. I knew everything. I knew that if you cut the tree a third into a V and you put that on the side that you want the tree to fall, and then you go 2 inches above and you cut straight in, that there is no way that the tree can fall this way. It has to fall this way because of the V that's cut in there. Well, before I decided to cut down the tree, we had another monster tree that we had to cut down in our backyard. So my wife, who's watching via online, hey, she convinced me that it was worth the money to cut down the 40-foot tree in our backyard using a professional. Well, I thought that it was going to take hours and hours and hours. Well, they moved in and they had a boom lift, and the guy went up, started cutting. 5 people moved in. Someone was raking, somebody had a blower, somebody, as branches fell, they picked it up, put it into a shredder. In an hour, this tree was gone. And they had chipped everything up. My wonderful stump in the backyard now is gone in an hour. Well, I cut down a very small tree, to be totally honest with you. It was about, I don't know, I'd like to say it in Baptist terms, it was very, very tall. But it was probably 10, 11 feet tall. Don't laugh at that. I mean, it was 20 feet tall. How's that? Is that better? Well, I had a bunch of guys come and help me, and my wife helped, and we kind of had a little party, and it pretty much took us all day. Because we didn't have the tools. We didn't have the right tools for the job. And you know what? If you are frustrated by all of this digital media and social and everything that's just like careening out of control in your life, start examining your tools. And there are lots of tools to choose from when it comes to social media. And you know, every time that I do this speech, and every time I talk about social media, these tools are getting out of control. There are so many things that reproduce what the other ones are doing, and they're trying to do it better. And just when you think you've understood Facebook, Twitter came out, and now that you've understood Twitter and you've set up a fan page, all of a sudden Google Plus comes out, and you think, how am I going to use Google Plus? And then there's Yelp, and then there's YouTube, and then someone says, well, blogging is really social media. So then you think, okay, well, I should blog, and then Twitter is microblogging, and like everything's just spinning around you. You got to figure out what you want to do. And when it comes down to that, a tool is only as good as the content that is being delivered on. The content that is being delivered by the tool. That sounds better. So if you start with the content, kind of like I started with the smallest tree, which was very good. Because if I would have cut down the big tree, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd be dead someplace. But start with the content. Take a step backwards and say, what type of content do I want to deliver? And in order to be able to deliver that, then you have to decide what type of tool delivers that content the best way. Does that make sense? It's interesting, in a room this size, it's hard to get that feedback that I got this morning. Maybe it's the Pepsi Max, which I am going to take a drink of. But in order to do that, and this is kind of a review from this morning, you'll recognize some of these terms. In order to figure out the content, we have to look at the audience. Remember we talked about that? And everything, all of your content is going to be based upon your audience. Make sure you limit your audience. We are PinPoint Creative. We like to pinpoint as small as possible. The smallest possible audience is easier to reach than a large audience. Does that make sense? If you decide, I'm going to reach the entire United States of America, that's going to be a little harder than I'm going to reach everybody in this front row. The more you pinpoint it, the easier it is. So limit it. But make sure that there's enough. Oftentimes we pinpoint and we target a market, but we don't make sure that there is enough. If your church is going down a social media path, make sure that there's enough people that would be interested in the content that you're going to be developing, or else you're going to end up, as somebody asked Kathy earlier, it's like, what if I tweet and nobody is there? Because they might not be interested in it. You might be interested in it, but you might be the only one in the world that's interested in it. I've read some worship guides that, never mind, I won't even go down that path. And then consider the pain that the audience is going through. In order for you to actually deliver a benefit, now get this, in order for you to deliver a benefit, you have to solve a pain. If not, people won't want what you're going to give them. You have to figure out what the pain is. If the pain is that we really want to have a better community in our church, we just want to feel like we're connected throughout the week, then that's an easier pain to try to solve than if it's something you don't know. You just have to be able to take that step backwards and look at the audience, figure out what the pain is, and then be able to deliver it. And the way that you do that is through some type of a product. So if you have a product, make sure that it satisfies the audience. Make sure that it delivers on the pain. Then make sure that it's good in quality. I mean, because if you do it in lousy quality, then people will just give up on it. And then make sure it's unique. That's easy, right? So, because if it's not unique, and somebody else is delivering it, then they have to make the choice between you and somebody else. Have I totally lost you all? So you just have to make sure that take the step back. It's not about the tool of social media. It's about the content. And in order for you to figure out the content, you have to take a step back. Take a step back until you know who your audience is. And then from the audience, you can move forward and figure out what the product is. And then for all of you great class people from this morning, in order to connect an audience to a product, you have to do it how? You have to do it through a benefit. Do not just describe it like what we talked about this morning, but it's a benefit. So, if the audience needs the product, it will be connected through a benefit. So when you look at your benefit, make sure it's unique, make sure that it's simple, and make sure that it's ambiguous, which is a weird word to throw in here. But in order for a benefit to work, it can't be very specific. It's the opposite of specific. So you can say, I'm going to develop a community of believers throughout the week through your social media. And that community, if you said a specific type of community or something that they're going to learn through that community, then it becomes too specific. So make sure it's broad enough so that it's ambiguous, so that you can create, why does this tie in and why does that tie in? So creativity, it's the very last thing. There is always a way to do something, and then there's a creative way. If it comes to you really quickly, it's probably not creative. Creativity is thinking differently. Remember Steve Jobs? He's been gone for so long. We need to think differently. We need to think, okay, why not look into all the ways that other churches are using social media, and let's do something different. Every time that I do this, and yes, I'm going to have 16 pointers on how to use this, and then I'm going to have 10 ways to use it creatively at the end of this. It scares me to death to go through that many things this fast, and it scares me to death because as soon as I say, here's a creative way, and if you all use it, then it's not going to be as creative and as unique as anything. All I did was I sat down with our team, and over a period of hours, we came up with some creative ways that we don't think are being used as much as they should be in church. So, we do stuff, we reap benefits, but the biggest thing that we always leave out is we need to know the results. It's called return on investment when it comes down to return on investment with businesses. If you're going to do anything, remember, if you're doing stuff and you're not reaping bigger benefits than what you're doing, then there's no sense doing them. Stop doing them. Or figure out how to do it better so that you reap better results than how much time and how much energy you put into it. And in order to do that, you need to figure out what the return on investment is. What is the return on investment in social media? I don't know. I don't know for you. It could be that you just want a whole bunch of followers, because that's what Ashton Kutcher does, right? So if he does it, and if he can get 1 million people, I can get 1 million people. And it's almost like, I mean, yes, do follow me on Mark Mac 1023. Do I need to say that one more time? Mark Mac 1023. And the 1023 is for my birthday. So on October 23rd, every year I expect gifts. So you'll be able to remember all of that. The thing is that figure out and know the results, predetermine them. Don't start into social media and say, after 2 years, man, we've been trying this thing and it's just not working for us. Well, you got to know what did you have in mind? People come to us and they want a social media strategy, and we keep saying to them, well, what would you like to do? And they said, I don't know, tell us what we should be doing with social media. But it's not up to me to decide what you're going to do with social media. You need to decide what that is. And as soon as I'm a control-aholic, like my wife right now, you can see her nodding if you look right through there. I like to control everything, in a good way, of course. But the more you can control, like this morning how we were saying you got to control your brand, control your reputation, your perception, that reality, the more you can control, the more results you'll get. I guarantee it. If you want something from social media, then you set that goal and you just figure out what tool to use in order to reach that goal. If you don't predetermine what benefits, what results you want, you will always feel like you're not doing good enough. Be goal-oriented. I mean, set a goal. Say, we're going to start Twitter, and we want it to do this amount, and we want to have this many followers within a time frame that you can actually come back and check. You can go even further past that. Like if you've been doing it for a while, maybe you want to have a certain amount of interactivities. Maybe you want to be retweeted. Maybe you want to expand your community outside of the walls of your church. Maybe you want to have a way for Twitter to be used so that you can ask questions to the pastor after he's had a sermon. I know that there's one church that I was reading about that at the end of the sermon he stopped. Somebody takes an iPad up to him and they have a listing of all the questions that came in from Twitter from the people in the congregation. He stops, he reads through them, and then he said, oh, this is an interesting question. Obviously, I didn't cover this well enough, and then he covers it. I mean, that's kind of cool, isn't it? But that's something that he wanted to do, and it's working. So that's a good thing. And you will only know that if you predetermine. and then you make sure you measure it, and then, of course, adapt. Figure it out. Look at your audience. Look at the tools. Look at the content, and just figure out, is this working for us, or should we just change something? So here it is. Dun, 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 16 tips. Wow, I have 35 minutes too. Pepsi Max makes everything go a little faster. This online presentation was brought to you by Pepsi Max. No, I don't. Pepsi, if you're listening, I still want to work for you. Anyone that saw me this morning knows why. Okay, so here they are. Here's kind of the categories. So social media, as it gets broader and broader and broader, all of a sudden there's all these tools. So there's essentially blog tools, there's networking tools, and then there's sharing tools. So let's look through some tips. With blogs, SEO, search engine optimization, it is a perfect way. One of the huge things that can happen with, I mean, you want to be found by Google, Yahoo, Bing, all of those. Well, in order to be found, one of the largest ways that they are able to push you upwards in the ranks in social, in SEO, is they look for backlinks. So everybody always says, "Oh, what's backlinks?" And backlinks are outside of your website. People are pointing to your website, and it's awfully hard to control. But this is a way you can control them. When you blog, make sure you have links to your website. And I'm not talking at the bottom, signing it and then putting your URL. I'm talking about the fact if you have some content on your website and you're blogging about it, and you're blogging about the subject matter, and you say, hey, if you want more, you can go to our website and find more right here. Or you can even say, our pastor spoke about this and tied it in scripturally, and he says it's so good, watch the YouTube video right here that's on our website. So you have a connection to your website and a connection to YouTube, and you have a connection to the blog. Search engines love that stuff, so just make sure you're doing it. Okay, 300 words max. I'm going to say this really fast, okay? The average person spends how many seconds on a web page from this morning? 10 seconds. 3 seconds to your home page and they decide whether they're going to continue on or not. 10 seconds to an average page on your website, except for, here it is, here's the big tip. If you put a blog on your website, people will spend up to 60 seconds reading that blog. And the only reason why is because a blog is oftentimes written differently than it would be if it's content on a website. And what happens is that people understand blogs are a one-on-one. It's I did this, or I was out cutting a tree. As soon as I start down a path of telling a story about me cutting down a tree, people just stop and listen, and they'll listen a little bit longer. So why 300 words? Anyone want to take a wild, hazardous guess? The average American can read 300 words in 60 seconds. So every blog engine that you're out there, when you're typing in a blog, it will keep a word count at the bottom. If it doesn't, figure out how you can put it on there. It's really easy. Or make sure you do it in Word. Word will keep it at the bottom, or Pages, or whatever. Just keep track. And if you shoot for 300, you will miss it every time. So shoot for like 275 and you'll get closer to the 300 each time. So make sure, 300 words max. Eye interrupters. Along the way, everybody, if you what we call gray text, which is just paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, if you put a bullet point, people who don't want to read a whole paragraph will jump to the bullet points. And then if you put a bold, they'll jump to the bold. And so what we do is every time that we write something, we make sure that they start with a headline, because everyone starts with a headline. They'll look at the picture, whatever picture there, and I don't even know whether I put that in there, but make sure you use pictures. And the picture, they'll jump to that, and then they'll jump to the bullet points. And if that's all they get out of it, that is perfectly fine with us, because the main body content is in all of those eye interrupters. And then for those people that go, whoa, whoa, this is really good stuff, they'll back up and then they'll read all the gray text. So those are kind of simple tips for blogs. Also, in your headlines, use numbers. It was about 2 years ago, there was a study done that said that if you put numbers, are we all above age here? They say that numbers is the new pornography of blogs. It will get everyone to look at it. So if you put a number in the headline, more people will read it than if you don't have a number in it. Now, everyone always looks at me incredulously like, that's stupid. But in our fast, busy lives, people look and they think, if you say, everything you need to know in order to be a better person, then it's like, whew, they couldn't write long enough for me and I don't have time and there's no way. But if I said, the 3 things that you need to know to be a better person, I can read 3 things. I can read it really fast. I don't even know how long the blog is, but I'll go check it out. And if you, the next time you're at the grocery store and you see all the magazines that are all lined up, look how many numbers are on the covers. 3 times as many people will pick up a magazine with a number on the cover than if they don't have a number on the cover. It proves the point. Put numbers in your blog titles. More people will read them. Oh, and there it is. Add a photo. Okay, so now let's move over to networking. That's their Facebook, Twitter, the Google+. How many people are on Google+? Wow, not bad, not bad. How many people are engaged on Google+? It's kind of like throwing the party and no one's come yet. It's, I mean, it's crazy. I have no idea. Everyone wants Google to finally succeed with social media. And like everyone's writing all the blogs. This week there was 10 reasons why Google+ will be the place to be on within 1 year. And I read through them and it was because Google does everything well. Well, I don't know. I don't know whether, although, let me give you a quick tip on Google+. Google+ this past week opened up their pages, because up until this point, Google+ only required you, they required you to be a person in order to have a Google+ membership, or what's the word I'm looking for? The account, thank you. And this past week, they opened it up for businesses. And interestingly enough, unlike Facebook, where you have to kind of be a business organization, you can be a non-person entity. Any non-person entity, whether it's a group, a club, an organization, a church, a business, all of those things fall under Google+ now. And you can create a page for that. And it's just opened up, so if you want the magic URL for your website, even if you're not planning on using Google+ right now, go and get it. Because the cool thing about Google+, since they own search, they really own search. I mean, you go, I mean, does anybody use Yahoo or Bing? Please. Is anybody here from Yahoo or Bing? But Google+, since Google owns them, PinPoint Creative, which is our page name, if somebody goes to pinpointcreative.com, it goes to our URL. If someone puts PinPoint Creative Plus, it goes to our Plus page. So it'll be all tied in with your search engine. So whether you need it or not right now, just get it. It's free. Takes a little bit of time. Okay, well, for Facebook and Twitter, do the same thing. Social media, all of those social media accounts, make sure that you're tweeting and putting links in that takes you back to your website. Search engine optimization is really good for that. Make sure you have a purpose. Oh my goodness. People have Facebook fan pages and they come to us and they say, well, you know, we have this fan page. And so we say, okay, how's it working for you? I don't know. It's just, I don't know what we're doing with it. Well, have a purpose. Remember, Remember that whole thing of like predetermine that purpose? Figure out what you want from it. These are the exact same questions we were getting from websites. When websites came along, everybody said, I don't know, we need a website. Okay, so is the website working? Not so much. And then all of a sudden people realized it's about content. It's not about having a website. Social media is about the content. Have a purpose. Make sure you know what you're doing. Create a rhythm. Kathy talked about this a little bit. Everybody does it. Everybody does it with social media. You get your new account, and I'm going to Google Plus every day. I didn't even say that. I was going to try to monitor Google Plus for a while. But Facebook, my Facebook fan page, I tried to tweet in the morning, Facebook in the morning, Facebook in the afternoon. Have a rhythm. Just have anything, whether it's like don't go in guns blazing and like put 40 things right back to back, because those are annoying. And if you do it, don't let me follow you. Like, because you're probably hidden anyway. But it's, make sure you have a rhythm. Watch how many times you need to tweet, how many times you have to put a status update on there. Watch to see whether your count's going up or going down. If it's going down, you're annoying. Let me be the one to tell you. Stop it. Okay, so create that rhythm and then engage. I can't believe how many times I post something on someone's fan page and they don't get back to me. It's annoying. This is your opportunity. Social media is about being social. If you don't want to have friends, don't go on social media. If you, here's the word again, sorry, suck at being a friend, don't go on social media. The same issues that make all your friends never call you will be the reason why you won't have any friends on social media. You don't get back to them. You don't engage with them. When someone says, my long lost somebody died, and you go, oh, that's too bad. Anyway, what else is going on in Facebook land? I mean, engage with people. When you see a pain, solve the pain. Sorry for being so passionate. Okay, 80-20 rule. 80-20 rule. Know who your audience is. Know how to entertain that audience. And make sure 80% of their statuses are entertainment value. 20% marketing value. Do not start a fan page and just continually harp. You got to come to this meeting. You got to be here at church on Sunday. You should be part of this visitation. You got to be doing this. You got to be doing that. Isn't that what we all want? We want Big Brother Church on our back, reminding us of all the times that we need to be doing stuff for the church. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous what I see on Facebook. Entertainment value is like watching a television show just for the commercials. Now, I know I do, but a lot of people don't like that. But can you imagine? It's like the fall lineup comes on and there's a whole hour time period where it's just commercials. Like, how many times would you watch it? But yet, we do social media and we just do commercials all the time. We need some entertainment in there. And that 80-20 rule, go figure, is about what television is. You watch about 80% of a show and then 20% on the commercials. So it's really, really important to make sure that that entertainment value is there. Okay. Oh, and then hashtags. Make sure you're using hashtags. Do you all understand what hashtags are? You know, the hashtag is the number sign. And if you don't know what hashtags are, go to hashtags.com and you'll see all the hashtags that are being used right now. But you know what? You can make up your own. Like, just have fun with them. I love tweeting or putting a status and then doing my cynical comedy, humor, or whatever you want to call it, in a hashtag so that it's like, it just adds some entertainment value. But also, like when we're here and we have hashtag WFX, then I can quickly go on to my phone. I've saved a search for anything that says hashtag WFX, and then I can read every tweet that is ever said here at WFX, which is so cool because I get to hear all the high points and all the low points. I get to hear things that are happening that people are really ministered to in the keynotes. I get to see in the seminars what seminars I can't go to. So make sure you're using hashtags. Okay, and then moving to the sharing side, you know what? I love this, and it's always everybody knows YouTube and Vimeo, and some people know the podcast, but Pinterest, I don't know, how many people are on Pinterest? It's such a girly thing. I'm sorry that I'm putting my hand up, but these two ladies, I am part of their Pinterest. Oh, there's a 3 I see. Are there any other guys on Pinterest? Oh, yeah, I see that hand back there. Yeah, he's slinking away. Well, I can't even believe I'm doing this. This is like me promoting a chick flick. Pinterest, when you're online and you're looking at something and you go, whoa, that's kind of cool, you can just put a pin into it and it puts it into an album for you. So you can go back to your albums and look at them later on. The cool social end of things is that you can share that with other people who have the same interests. So if say you're a pastor and say you're interested in the Bible, okay? I know it's a stretch, but you find all of these cool pages or cool things about the Bible, and you start putting pins into it, and then other people who also like the Bible, maybe other pastors, they also can follow you and find out things that you find interesting online and look through your album. It's the coolest thing ever. And the way we're using it, and I know that we still have the 10 tips. What time am I getting to? We still have the 10 tips coming up, and one of the 10 tips will be somewhere along this line. But for our kids this year, for Christmas time, we live in North Carolina. I'm Canadian, and I have a group of Convention of Atlantic Baptist Churches that is watching online right now, a group in Canada that's watching. And you know what? We have a lot of people from away that have to buy gifts for my kids. So I got them to open up a Pinterest account. Don't tell them it's a girly thing. No, but they opened up a Pinterest account and they created an album called Christmas Ideas. And as they look through the internet, which is all they do, they just go, oh, that'd be cool. And they just put a pin in it. It goes into the album. Anybody can go and follow them and see what they would like for Christmas. They're aging teenagers. Nobody knows what aging teenagers want for Christmas, but I do because of Pinterest. Anyway, so sharing. SEO, go figure. If you're going to put a YouTube video on and you have a YouTube channel, make sure that you have backlinks. Keep your backlinks going. And then help your content travel. Make sure that there's ways for people to easily share the content that you're putting onto these sites. Then cross-link. Make sure that you're cross-linking back and forth, which is that whole SEO thing. Watch your analytics. Did you know that if you have a YouTube video and you put it on, my son is a manager of a Christian rock band, and they put on music videos, and he watches the analytics because he knows, okay, all of a sudden everybody jumps on, they watch, and then all of a sudden they drop off. You can see when people stop watching the video. So what he does is he corresponds that to where it is in the song, and it's like, wow, it's getting boring right there. Maybe we need to reduce a verse or add a bridge or do something in there. It's kind of like everyone always says, so we want to do videos for YouTube. And you think, okay, we'll do some videos. And then the next question is, how long should we make our videos? I don't know, because I don't know what your videos are all about. Maybe it's going to take a long time to say what you want to say in your video, but all you have to do is post a video. Post a video and watch where everyone jumps off. If everyone continually jumps off at 2-minute mark, you're boring. You don't need to have anything longer than 2 minutes, seriously. And most times for a YouTube video, just so you know, 1 minute to 2 minutes is probably all you ever want. After you go past 2 minutes, well, unless, of course, you have an amazing sermon. Okay, oh, and there it is. Think short, go 2 minutes. Okay, now here's 10 creative things. And do I have 10 minutes left? I have 15 minutes left. This is amazing. Okay, so creative things you can do. Here's just some wild and crazy things that when we looked at different tools that are out there, and we thought, okay, how on earth could the church ever use them? Here's something. A school decided to set all their kids up on a blog, and then the kids wrote biographies of historical characters to put on the blog. Now, can you imagine if the church got Sunday school classes, set up a blog site, and get their Sunday school classes to write biographies of biblical characters? Or how about missionaries? Take a look at the missionaries. Maybe even do a video of it and post it on your blog site. Or maybe, can you imagine all of that is going to be searchable, and then if every year, as maybe one time a year, everyone puts something on there, and each of the classes, I mean, you could have an entire searchable blog of every character in the Bible. Wouldn't that be kind of cool? And especially if it was done by kids. Because you can imagine the things that would stand out is like, he didn't have a dog. I mean, you can't even imagine where that could go. So maybe try to think about something like that. Then number 2, this is kind of interesting. I didn't realize, okay, everybody in Twitter, they always say, so how do we find people that have our interests, and how do we know who's out there? Where similar to the old school way of getting your yellow page book and looking under a category and looking, well, Twitter has Twello pages. And it's Twello.com. And if you go to Twello.com, you can find anybody. If you look under creative directors, and especially if you look under Christian creative directors, I'm going to be listed there. It lists them from the most important to the very least. I'm somewhere down here probably, but it's the people that have the most followers. So you can find out who the most influential, if you went in under pastors, you'd be able to find them. But here's something interesting that Twello's doing. You can actually find out every Twitter follower in your area. Now, as a church, how could you use that? If you knew everybody who was involved with social media in your location, and they probably need Jesus, there might be some opportunity there. In fact, you can see here on the slide, a little blue flag says how many people in certain areas where all the cluster groups of Twitter followers are. You can click on that and actually get a listing of them. Now, this is another Twitter thing. Twitter.com, if you just go to Google and put Twitter.com advanced search, it'll come up with this window. I've heard of a church who has a prayer ministry on Twitter. And what you can do, and I know it's hard to see on the smaller screens, but what you do is you put in anything that you're looking for. So if I were looking for anybody who says, please pray for me. Now, the first time I tried this, I thought, there won't be anybody. But there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who tweet, please pray for me. So you say, look for please pray for me. Well, you could start a global ministry of praying for people that are asking for prayer on Twitter. But the cool thing about advanced Twitter is that you can actually say, I want it within a certain radius of me. So you could say, say you're in Dallas, and I want to pray for everybody within a 10-mile radius of Dallas. You can actually put in, under places, near this place, Dallas, and then you could say how many miles you actually have. So if I did it, and I went, pray for me in English, because I wouldn't be able to understand them if not, and then near Dallas, within 50 miles. And there they all are. The first one, as I walk off screen, the last picture of my little princess before she passed. Pray for me, please. I mean, somebody died and they put it on Twitter and then said, please pray for me. Now, how could a church use that? She's within 50 miles of this place. Does she need the Lord? We all need the Lord. Even if she's a believer, even if she's part of a church, for you to be able to say, I don't know who you are, I just read your tweet and it means something to me. Is there anything we can do? We have a community of people who are grieving in our church, and we would love for you to come. Don't quickly sell to her, but just reach out. Be a community. Imagine what type of a prayer ministry you could have just using this. And then, to be creative, think of other ways you can use this. Remember, Twitter isn't as locked down as Facebook, so you're able to see virtually everybody that's tweeting out there, and you can find out an awful lot of stuff. Okay, the other thing on Twitter is, have you ever heard of a tweet up? A tweet up, I know that at WFXs in other years, there's a bunch of us that tweet, and somebody says, hey, we're going to have a tweet up, we're going to meet at such and such a restaurant, and we just show up. And the first time I showed up, I have to admit, I was expecting to be killed. I texted my wife to tell her where I was, where she could find the body, it would be in this vicinity. I had no idea who any of the people were. I just showed up. And surprisingly enough, I met an awful lot of people that I still am really good friends with. I love when I come to WFX and I get to meet up with these people again. So, have you considered, here are everybody in your community that's tweeting, and you just throw out a tweet up. And they have actually created, it's called TWT, Twitveet, as in invite, or it'd be Twitvite, or it's twtvite.com. And you can actually, it's an easy way to organize a tweet up. Okay, YouTube, how about a how-to channel just before we all get killed by whatever is rolling down the aisle? Wow. I saw this YouTube channel, and it's how to cook different dinners. And it's just short videos on how to do stuff. Well, we used to have the Engaged to First Year Married class at our church, and there are a lot of young ladies who are getting married who don't know, and because of the way that our world works, they've moved away, and they don't have a parent or somebody who can come alongside of them. What if your church utilized the older ladies in the church to create how to set up a home, how to clean, how to iron things, how to make your husband happy? That could be scary. What about, here's another idea. Why not take the information you're learning today and teach somebody it? And if you don't feel qualified, I would love to come to your church, and I would love to do a seminar. Bring in somebody, and I'm not saying teach all of these at one time, but just choose something in social media and teach somebody it. Do you think anybody else in your church is interested in it? Absolutely. You will find, and this is what drives me crazy. I mean, the church loves to teach religious stuff, but the church drops the ball on a whole bunch of other things that they could be teaching and developing communities of people who want to learn stuff. I could go down that a long way. Oh, and here's another thing. Did you know that you can chat in Facebook and you can chat in Google+, but the cool thing is you can now group chat, so you can actually chat a whole bunch of people. Well, what if you just said to people, we're going to have a group chat about something? whether it's a book of the Bible, we're going to continue the discussion that we had at church, and we're just going to have a group chat. We're going to jump on. Just let us know, and we'll connect you all. And if you go to Facebook and Google, go to Google and say Facebook group chat or Google Plus group chat. Okay, I'm going to stop saying Google Plus because none of you are going to do it. But Facebook, you can actually do that. That's very cool. Now, you all know, we've all talked about QR codes. Do you guys all understand what QR codes are about? QR codes are underused, and there's one reason why they're underused. Because people use them for stupid reasons. There was a wave of everybody, oh wow, it's really easy to do a QR code. So they do a QR code and they make it their avatar in Facebook. Now that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? You're online and a QR code takes you online. So you have to take out your mobile phone, which is another system, shoot the online version of your QR code so that it will take you online. It just doesn't make any sense. In fact, anytime a QR code's used online, it's stupid. Stop using it. QR codes are harder to use than a link. If you have a digital link, use the digital link. A QR code is essentially a way to take you from print, standard media, into the digital world. So, how could you use QR codes? I was thinking it would be so fun to do a QR code scavenger hunt. You create all of these QR codes and post them around the city, kind of do an Amazing Race style. They get to it, they scan the QR code, it tells them something, or maybe they have to look for something, maybe it's a short video, and then maybe they find something. I love stuff like that, so I thought maybe that. Or what about a walkthrough in your church? Wouldn't it be great if a visitor arrives at your front door and they're thinking, I can't find my way around here, and they shoot a QR code. It takes them to an area where there's a drop-down menu and it says, so what are you looking for? You go to the drop-down menu, it pulls up a map and it shows you, here's where you're at, because a QR code is there, you know where they're at. Here's where you're at. You'll need to go down there, take a right, take a left, and there's the second door on the right. Now, isn't that kind of a cool idea? Just to be able to walk you around. Or if you have something that's really historical in your church and you want to explain it to everybody, like we have an area in our church for all the former pastors. And then there's a stained glass window and a pew, and there is a much larger story than anyone has ever told me before. And I would love to know why we have that in an area of our church. I would love to have a QR code where I can at least watch a video or an explanation or get a page of why we have this stuff there. And if you're watching, email me it, please. And then another cool thing that's being used is the youth groups. Like, you know how a youth group person, which would be a youth, I guess, a youth person, a young person, there we go, wants to invite somebody in their church. Hey, you got to come to our youth group. And then you know what happens? It's, oh no, but it's lots of fun. I know it's at a church, but it really is fun. No, you won't be bored out of your mind. I mean, like, we have lights and we have really cool music, and every person there, because of the reputation and perception of a church, all the unchurched kids go, yeah, right. Well, imagine if your youth group t-shirt has a QR code on the back, and unbeknownst to anybody, someone goes, I wonder what that is. Click, and they get to watch a little promo video of why they need to be coming to the youth group. They get to experience it. They get to see what the type of teaching is, what the music is, and oh my goodness, I might actually want to go to that. It's a great idea for it. And then also on banners, as we've seen around the show. Number 9. Just 2 more, and I have 2 minutes. Okay, so Pinterest, and then the other little logo underneath of it is called Delicious. Delicious is essentially the same as Pinterest. Delicious is more for men. Because I've been on it for a long time, and I love Delicious. And Delicious actually, rather than tagging images and snippets from websites, it actually tags the whole page. And Delicious, you can create a social media network. You can go to Delicious and set up an account. And if you're doing a sermon about a certain topic, you can ask, of all the people using Delicious, here's a topic I'm looking for, and they'll actually supply you all the links that they've tagged in Delicious. It's a great place. And there's Pinterest. That's my page because I haven't done anything with it. The I'll kill you that's listed there, well, that's another reason why I don't want to be on it. No, I'm actually enjoying it. This was the first day I set it up, and since then I've had like 40 people say, I'm on Pinterest too, and I want to follow you. And yes, they've all been women. But other than that, we need more men on it. But Pinterest, imagine if you decided that you wanted to build a library about different topics, and you build them in the Pinterest library, and then all the people in your church that are part of Pinterest will be able to find all of this stuff. You could do it for teachers, set up a teachers section, like funny things you can share with your class, or really cool comics, or really great videos, or anything like that. Or you could do it for pastors, or you could do it for congregation. And lastly, I blog. I blog two times a week. I have a church blog. I have a business blog. Incredibly, because I was speaking about blogging that I thought I should start blogging. So it's been a few years ago, I decided I would start to blog. And hands down, every week, no matter what I blog about, it is always the most hit page on my website. In fact, if you look at our top 10 pages, it's always a blog. It drives me crazy because that means that I have to keep doing it. It works. It really does work. It's cathartic. I can write virtually any paragraph to 300 words without even counting now. I mean, it just happens. And interestingly enough, we blogged about a church about a year ago, and that church was just highlighted on a Discovery Channel TV show, and we had 10,000 people read our blog, which was just incredible this past month. But think about blogs, and when you start thinking about blogs, just think, this is a way to put information online and to be able to tag it so that you'll be able to find it again. So, our church, this past week, for the very first time, on the back of the bulletin, put a QR code, and when you scan the QR code, it takes you to their blog, and it gives the sermon notes so that you have all the sermon notes, and you can then add a pin to it if you want to in Pinterest. Or what if there is a way for you to just think of it as a way to develop an online information center, so that instead of going to an information desk and asking for that information, you go to your blog, and you can, because of the way everything's tagged, maybe you can just put in whatever you're looking for, and it just calls up every blog that you've ever said about baptism, or everything that's ever been said about the Lord's Supper or communion. I mean, you can use blogs for virtually everything. Well, here's a tweet. To most Christians, the Bible is like a software license. Nobody actually reads it. They just scroll to the bottom and click, I agree. Might have more truth to it than what you would expect. Any questions at all about any social media? And I'll get Kathy to answer them. No, but is there any questions at all about anything that I said? Once again, let me just highlight a couple of little points that you might have forgotten because it was at the beginning. It's not about the tools. It's about content. So make sure that you develop the content, and the content isn't based on the tool, it's based on audience. So you have to know who your audience is, what's their pain, solve it with content, and then figure out the easiest way to deliver it. And the cool thing is, even back further, when we were talking about the timelines and the ages that we're at, when we get to social media, it's because of two really good benefits. You extend your audience. If you want to extend your audience, you need to be on social media. And then the one that I hope will work is that it'll be faster. You can distribute your information a whole lot faster than any other way that's humanly possible. And God has put us in this time frame to use this for His kingdom and His glory. And if we don't use it, the world will rob it from us. We just gotta take hold of it, and we gotta start using social media creatively so that the world says, look what the church is doing, we gotta do something like it. Are you up for it? Well, go and do it. Thank you very much.